And we're live. Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 147. Glad that you guys could make it here to join us for the live show today. Keep in mind that this is one of our longer shows. It's where we like to kind of get in contact with you guys and talk about things that maybe will help you become a better player and get kind of some one-on-one time with you, answer your questions, and it's not a regular kind of short form video. Yeah. So if that's not what you're into, that's cool, but check out some of our other videos. Today we're going to do our live show and answer some of your questions. So while we are talking about a topic today that we think is going to help you guys become a better basketball player, maybe kind of change your mind on some of the ways that you look at the game, you guys are going to be sending us questions, and we're going to get into those in just a few minutes and start answering those. Yep. It's good to get them in early, because if you wait till the end, then we don't have enough time and there's too many questions. So Get them in early. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media stuff so that you get to follow along and talk to us during the week. We are on Facebook, we are on Google+, we are on Twitter, we are on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. We are Shot Science on all of that stuff. So make sure you follow us there. Different things going on in different places. If you like these live show things, we do them on Facebook occasionally too. So check that out. And let's see, we're going to talk about our topic for today, which is how to get more possessions. And, you know, this is one of those things where there's a few things that factor into getting more possessions, and it's kind of doing the kind of less appreciated things, I would guess, than kind of like the obvious offensive or defensive things that you could do to kind of stand out a little bit.
Right.
But these are things that can be make a big difference in gaining possessions for you and your team, and will help you get more opportunities, which is really what it's all about, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, one of the things that we don't really think about too much when we play the game of basketball is the fact that the outcome typically is determined by the team that has the most possessions during the course of the game. And those possessions come in a lot of different ways. Number one way is they come in securing rebounds, whether you're offense or defense, securing a rebound of a missed shot. If you're an offensive player, that means that you have another possession to try to score. And if you are a defensive player and you're taking a rebound, that gives you one that you now have to add to your particular team. If we were taking a look at this in the course of a game, let's say that there's 100 possessions during the course of the game, and you know that varies a whole bunch depending on the level you play and that sort of thing. But if we have a supremely strong rebounding team, maybe out of those 100, they're going to get 60 or 65 possessions, and the other team is going to get the remainder. They're going to get 35 or 40. And so the team with the greatest number of possessions probably is going to have a better chance to win that basketball game.
Because they have more opportunities.
They have more opportunities. And the other thing that we often don't factor in is that steals. That is a possession that you gain for your team, and so you add that to your column. And so maybe you get your team gets 12 steals in the course of the game. That begins to add up, and it takes away from what the other team can get done on their end of the floor. And so just possessions are super important. Other kinds of possessions that maybe can happen, and you probably are running through your mind a little bit on this right now, that if a team travels, that's a turnover, and it goes to the other team, and so now they have an extra possession.
Or block shots.
Or,
you know, I mean, there's so many things that it could be, but, you know, think about it like this. If a ball goes up in the air on a shot, and you have two options. One is you can let it go.
Yeah.
The other one is you can go get it. And if you just let it go, you are not going to get that possession no matter what.
Yeah.
And the other team will get it.
Yeah.
And if you go after it, you have a chance to get the possession, which is great. And if you get it, that means you guys have the ball for that possession, and the other team doesn't get it. So
exactly.
That's one opportunity you get, one opportunity they don't get.
Exactly.
And when it comes down to getting like a steal or something like that, it's you taking away that possession again and taking it for your team. So you're up one, they're down one. And this is where you get those crazy swings and points and stuff, where maybe your team comes down and they hit a three-pointer, the other team takes the ball out of bounds and they pass it and you steal it. You can hit a 2 or a 3. That could be a 6-point swing.
Yeah, the swing is amazing there. Yeah.
And so, you know, when you see teams that are down by a whole bunch of points, or you know, they're struggling to kind of get back on top of things, you can make a 6-point swing in literally just about 5 seconds.
Right.
So these possessions are extremely important,
Yeah.
and you have to always be thinking about how can I pick up this extra possession, because like I said, that one steal can translate into an added 3 points, and you've basically turned one possession into about 6 points.
Yeah, true.
And if you take that away from the other team, then they're also not adding those points to their lead or
Exactly.
whatever, or coming back from a deficit. So possessions are so important, and that's why coaches love players that are able to do these things that are less appreciated.
Right.
If you are smart about rebounding and can anticipate and block out, so many times you watch games and it goes from down in the lowest levels of basketball to the highest.
Yeah.
You will watch the guys that stand just completely straight-legged, or they don't go and find a guy to box out, or they don't even really move for the ball if it goes up for a rebound. Even it has to like land on top of them for them to even try. Yeah. That is not what a coach wants to see.
True.
And the guys that have active hands and are really working on defense, trying to get steals, anticipating passes, taking a few risks, or going up to block a shot and not trying to swat it into the 8th row,
True.
but actually going up and blocking it and just misdirecting the shot and trying to get the possession back.
And the thing on those misdirections or touchings, those shots, all you need to do is get it with one finger, and that throws the accuracy of that shot out the window. And so it's not like you got to go up and smash it against the wall.
Yeah, well, I mean, but people love to see that kind of stuff where they send it to the 8th row because, it looks really dramatic.
Yeah.
And people think that, oh, well, we get to demoralize the other team and they're going to think about it next time they come in there. But, that happens maybe to a degree. But what's more powerful is if you can go up and take that block and turn it into 2 more points for your team.
Exactly.
Points count.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be harder on that guy to explain himself for taking a bad shot where he was being contested and it got blocked, and then that was converted into a transition 2 points, than it is for the coach to see him get it sent into the 8th row because, at least we get it back.
Yeah.
So if you guys are trying to get those extra possessions, you have to be smart about it. And that's one of those approaches, is thinking about it. Okay, I'm going to block this shot, but I'm going to go up there with a smart intention on it and try to get the ball back.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing is true with like going to get a rebound, is that you don't just say, oh, well, that's not coming to me, so I'll just let it go.
Right.
Dennis Rodman or Kawhi Leonard or all of these guys that have anticipatory kind of skills about this stuff, they don't care if it's coming to their side or not.
Yeah.
They're going to go get the ball.
Yeah.
And that's why you wind up with these guys that have like 20 rebounds in a game. Those are 20 possessions.
Yeah, 20 possessions that you've gotten for your team.
That's one player.
Yeah.
And so you have to go after it, and those mean a lot. And when coaches look at players, those are some of the things that make players stand out, because it's hard to stand out even if you score 25 points a game. It's harder to stand out in that crew than it is to stand out with the guy that gets a whole bunch of rebounds. He plays really tough D, or plays great offensively off the ball. I mean, there's so many other ways to kind of show the coach that you want to be a part of this team, and getting more possessions only helps you guys.
Right. One of the biggest problems in gaining those possessions and rebounds too is that oftentimes players are not really schooled sufficiently in how to block out or box out the opposing player. And so one of the things that we like to do is really spend time on anticipation, footwork, getting our body into people so that we can secure those defensive rebounds. Now, offensively, you often get behind somebody who is trying to block you out, and so you can't just accept that you're going to let them do that to you. And so there are several things that you can do in the way of getting around them so that you actually take a position in front of them. Because the whole idea is to gain the possession. I mean, that's the whole thing. And so by getting that and getting around that defensive blocker, then you're able to secure maybe another rebound for your team or possession, and even maybe a chance to put it into the basket for 2 or maybe even 3. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we're trying to really instill in you guys is that you have to look at these little kind of
Yeah.
tasks that are, it's really the dirty work of basketball, but they can be some of the most important things that you can do.
Right.
And if you're one of those people that is wondering, how do I get more playing time? How do I make the team? How do I make an impact on my team? I'm not the leading scorer. What should I do? Whatever, fill in the blank of that.
Yeah.
It's almost always going to be the answer to do these other things.
Yes, absolutely true.
And even if you're not getting all the shots yourself, those possessions will add up for your team.
Yeah.
And the more opportunities you have on the basket, the more points that you will be able to possibly put on the board, the harder for the other team to keep up with you.
Yeah, absolutely true.
And every possession is you taking that away from the other team.
Right.
Because you could just as easily stand at half court and hand them the ball.
Yeah.
And that would be giving up your possession for them. So be smart about this stuff.
So the upshot of what we're trying to say here, just in a little short clip, is that being able to secure extra possessions because of how you play is probably going to influence how your team goes in the final outcome of the game. The more possessions you have, the more opportunities you have to score. Unless you're a terrible offensive team, that probably is going to work in your favor if you get more possessions. And those possessions that we've talked about are offensive and defensive rebounds, interceptions, and steals are pretty much the same thing, and jump balls. That is an absolute important possession too, because if you can get the player into a situation where you can get a 5 count, and I hope everybody understands what a 5 count is, where you're being closely guarded for 5 seconds, and they call a violation on that, now that goes over to the other team. So that is a possession that you created because you got in and guarded somebody really tight for a continuous period of 5 seconds. And so those things are really important for you to take into consideration. And like Casey said a moment ago, is that for those of you who are wondering, how can I get to, number one, maybe make the team, or maybe 2 is to get on the floor and play more, is that when you exhibit the skills that we're talking about here in gaining those extra possessions, coaches will love you. If there's a loose ball on the floor and you're on the floor, we call that hickory and elbow time, or hickory and bone time, where your elbows
You
and
call
knees.
it that.
Yeah, that's what I call it. And you get on the floor and get after it. And what happens is that usually when you are aggressive and getting on the floor, you're able to secure that basketball and maybe get it to a teammate, or at least you got the possession, and now it's going to be a jump ball possibly too.
Yeah. Okay. So we've spent 12 minutes here talking about how important possessions are.
Yeah.
So let that sink in for you, because it is literally probably the number one way for you to make an impact on your team.
Yeah.
It's great that you'll be able to take some shots and put some points up, but if you're able to get possessions, that is
huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And so learn those little tactics. Learn how to rebound. Have the mentality that you're going to go out there and get rebounds, no matter the cost.
Right.
Learn how to block shots without losing the possession, because if you're able to get the possession and the block, you are padding your stats hugely.
Yeah, exactly.
Learn how to play defense and anticipate the pass so that you can pick off those passes, because that's really how you actually generate steals. It's not necessarily through poking the ball out from a guy while they're doing their little dribble spiel.
Yeah.
It is typically going to be off of passes that you get most steals.
Yeah.
So learn how to do those things, and you will start generating more possessions for your team. And I will tell you that most coaches, they don't want to be coaching defense. They want to be coaching their offense.
Yeah.
So try to put your coach in the position where he's coaching, or he or she is coaching more possessions of offense than defense.
Yeah.
And they will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we...
Did we mention that they should tell us where they're from as well?
We haven't got there yet.
Okay.
But I think it's a little bit of a slow day because everybody's watching the Warriors game right now, the Warriors-Blazers game. But we have people here. So what we usually ask you guys is for you to tell us where you guys are from. Looks like a few people are already telling us. Robert Stark, London. Omkar Toddy is from India. Passport Players TV is from Bay Area. Awesome. That's where we're from too. Right. But let us know where you guys are from, because we are here in Santa Cruz, California, and we'd love to hear where you are in the world, because that's really great. There's Amsterdam, Toronto, Phoenix, Awesome.
New York City.
New York City. Okay, so keep telling us where you guys are from. If you could tell your friends and family to check us out right now, we would love it. But right now, we're going to jump into answering some questions that you guys are sending to us here in the chat. Hopefully, we answered a whole bunch of questions about possessions there and that. And if you have more, just let us know. But we think that we really want you guys to think about when you're out there on the court, how do I get more possessions? Because that is a big deal. Okay, we got Cincinnati, New Jersey, Baltimore. Awesome. Okay, so send us your questions, you guys, because we're going to jump into those right now. This one is from Justin King, who says, how to become a starter?
Well, that's an interesting question.
We've had one live show that we talked about this.
Yes. One of the things that plays a major part in that is there has to be some way that you can play better than somebody that's on the floor. What do you bring? Sometimes, like Casey was saying a few moments ago, is you're bringing defense and rebounding. Okay, that really helps you get on the floor if you can do that. Personally, for me, when I was a young guy, that's all the game I had. I'd get on the floor and I'd defense and rebound, and I couldn't score unless I was standing right over the top of the basket trying to drop it through. That changed after a while, but that got me on the floor, just being able to defend and rebound. So
yeah, well, here's the thing: is that number one, lots of people get caught up in being a starter.
Yeah.
When being a starter is so kind of subjective and arbitrary.
Yeah.
That, a lot of times it's a tactical move by a coach because of a matchup or a lineup or whatever. There's nothing that really matters when it comes to starting. It's kind of an ego thing that people have. But more importantly, are you getting playing time?
Yeah.
And are you kind of working in as part of the essential core of the team is what I would be more concerned with. But I think people, when they say they want to be a starter, it means that they want to be part of the regular rotation of people, mostly. Yeah. So, doing those things is super important. And then also, we would say, go check out our video called How to Make the Team. There's actually a series of videos of that stuff. Go check those out. And we talk about these little kind of very important but often lost points that coaches love to see in their players. And, they're not skill related necessarily. It's more like kind of a mental approach that you can use to really kind of change the perception of what people are working, or how change the perception of what you are as a player, really.
Yeah, and all of that's centered around effort.
Yeah, effort.
Effort is the
initiative.
Key points.
Yeah, so go check out those videos because they will help you greatly. This one's from Nicole Bokic, who says, I currently suffered a bad ankle injury a month ago, and now I won't be able to play basketball How can I come back next basketball season strong after I'm healed?
Well, I don't know how serious your injury is, but let's just say that it's going to be 8 to 10 weeks. You spend the time going through the healing process and taking care of all of that. But there are certain things that you can do while you're kind of out of commission, so to speak. There's nothing to say that you can't dribble. You can sit in a chair and you can dribble behind the back and behind the chair and through your legs, and you not have to be on your feet. And so those kinds of things that you can do in the off season, you could really work on your weak hand during that period as well.
Yeah.
Working in the ball skills. You could even probably take and work on your stroke mechanics too. If you're at a place where they have a basket that can be lowered down a little bit, you can sit in the chair or even stand there and go ahead and shoot it and have somebody else shag the basketball for you. But that time, I look at injury time like this, is that's a time for you have no other commitments because you cannot play in games, but you can make commitment to improving your game, and maybe more so than the people who are playing, because you can really focus on certain elements like your weak hand.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that a lot of times people think that it's the end of the world when they get injured.
Yeah.
But as an athlete, you have to understand that everybody is going to get injured in some way at some point.
That's true.
And if you don't, I don't know what's going on with you, but that's usually not something that happens. Everybody has something that will kind of put a little bit of a blip in their ability to do things.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, if you have something wrong with your ankle, do the things that don't require your ankle.
Yeah, true.
And so, yeah, sitting in a chair, working on your dribbling and pounding the ball, or
Just the ball
offhand
handling stuff too.
Yeah, and you can. I'm sure you can probably stand up on your own. You don't have to do any kind of cutting or anything like that, and putting any pressure or anything on there. But yeah, I mean, work on doing some ball handling stuff, around the world and around your head, and whatever that may be. You could also work on getting under the basket and maybe shooting some little 2-footers, maybe some stationary kind of mic and drill stuff where you're doing some kind of little mini hooks right there. I mean, there is a ton of things that you can work on that don't require your ankle. So do those, and then when your ankle's good, you will come back and you'll have all these extra little things that you've added to your abilities.
Right. Plus, there'll be a period of kind of getting more healed too when you can work on, your legs and ankles and all that kind of stuff. And all of this will start to come together and probably make you a better player as a result of that injury. Now, it's hard to believe, but one of the things that I found is that I've had players who have broken their arm. They fell on the floor, broke their arm. And so maybe it was a right arm. And so they spent so much time working on that weak hand. And then finally, when the other one healed, now all of a sudden they've got more ammunition that they can use to go. So Nicole, just take and figure, okay, I'm going to do these things because they're things I can do while I'm still injured, while you get well.
Yeah.
And get well right away.
Yeah, and here, the main takeaway is don't feel sorry for yourself. There's so much that you can do, and before you know it, you'll be back in action. The other thing too is that you can work on like your strength and conditioning too. And we would send you to our buddy Alan Stein and Drew Hanlon. They do some really great stuff for injury prevention, number one, but also recovery from that stuff. And also we would point you in the direction of our vertical jump stuff, but maybe take out the things that require you to use your ankle or your leg or anything like that. Maybe do some body weight stuff like push-ups or pull-ups or some functional things around that. And you will start to kind of work on things that don't require your ankle. And then when you get back to it, you'll be very, very much improved in areas that you weren't before.
Before you go on, Nicole, in a subsequent note there, said that this was going to be until July. You've got a lot of time to work on your game between July and November 1st. So just try to keep something going, and then when you get well, then get after the leg and foot drills.
All right, we got to be a little bit more efficient on our question answering.
We never are.
Robert Stark says, "Hey, my coach asked me to play for the year older team. I've seen them play, and they play a lot more physical, and most players seem to be a lot stronger. What should I do?" Well, number one, you should definitely go play those guys because it's always great to play the better, older, stronger people because you figure out ways on how to make it work.
Yes.
Number one, I would say is don't allow yourself to be intimidated. You need to get out there and have confidence in yourself. You need to learn to use your body and contact to get out there and be able to. I mean, most people worry about this bigger, stronger people, but the thing is that you can use your body and you can really neutralize that stuff.
Well, there's another part that goes along with that too, and that part of it is is that maybe they are bigger and stronger and more physical, but you'd be surprised in a week or so you're in there digging with all of them. And so the thing that is important too is that don't allow your mindset, oh, they're so tough, they're so strong, they're so physical, to hold you back. Instead, take that as a challenge. Okay, I've got to get in there and scrap with these people, whether the male or female, so that I don't get left behind. And if your coach is thinking about moving you up to maybe a higher level team, how cool is that? And so take advantage of that and just get in there and go. You'll be surprised how quickly you'll adapt to that whole situation.
Yeah, a little bit of confidence, and you will start to learn. If you get frustrated at first, that's fine, but don't let it totally demoralize you.
Right.
And the other thing is get low, use your butt. Because that is a big low area where your center of gravity resides. So be able to get low on those guys, and you'd be surprised that if you get low and you press into their body lower than their waist, they're going to have a hard time jumping anywhere. And if they start pushing you, just lean into them a little bit, and if they start pushing you a little bit more, then they're going to foul you. So be mindful of all this stuff.
Get in there and battle.
Let's see. Omkar Toddy says how to be more alert and responsive while defending. I mean, that's a mentality thing.
Yeah. If you're not alert and you're defending, there's something wrong, because most people's ego defensively, they don't want to allow that offensive guy to get by them or to score on them. And so it's pretty easy for you to get your attention into what it is that you have to do as a defender. And that is, you have to step up and challenge everything that they do. So I think probably, I don't know how you develop it if you don't have it. Maybe you've got it and don't realize it too. But the idea is, on defense, you step up and you challenge them, and there's no way you're getting by me. There's no way you're getting to the basket. There's no way you're going to get off an uncontested shot. Just not going to happen.
It really is a huge mentality switch that you have to have. And a lot of the okay players that are semi-successful, they mostly rely on their skills and things like that. The great players and the ones that really excel are the ones that have kind of this killer mentality where they don't believe anybody can do anything or take anything away from them.
Right.
And you have to kind of be there and get into that mental space.
And understand as well that as a defender, unless you are just some unusual physical specimen, that you're going to give up baskets once in a while and live with that. Some people they get down because somebody gets by them. That bothers me more that they get down than the fact that they got by you. What you want to do is just stay with them as hard as you can, and if they start to get by you, then you've got to turn and run with them and stay there right in their presence so that you can maybe contest it further down the line. But the idea is just really muscle up and don't give up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that there's two ways you can handle kind of perceived failures or mistakes. One of them is to really get down on yourself and have it kind of be a self-fulfilling prophecy of you just spiraling out.
Yeah, right.
That is a horrible way. Yeah. Don't do that. Number two is to use it as motivation and to kind of let it kind of light your fire in terms of figuring out A, how to do it, or B, the next time down the court, you're not going to be in that position.
Yeah.
So really try to be the latter of that. You don't want to let it, one mistake or one breakdown is not going to be worth it as soon as it's over, because after that, you'll only make it worse if you keep harping on that. So play in the present. Just remember to use it as motivation. Okay, so let's see this. Andrews Anga Marca says how to become faster and more athletic. Go check out our vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook, and we talk about not only developing your vertical jump, but your overall athleticism, conditioning, and quickness and speed and all those things, and explosiveness. So check those out, and that has pretty much those answers there. Shift Team 95 says, how can I improve my shot so that it's more consistent?
You work on your consistency.
Consistent practice leads to consistent results.
Exactly. And one of the things that I find is that players, especially once the season gets going, don't really shoot the ball enough. Beforehand, maybe they shoot a lot because they're anticipating they're going to be on the team and all of that. But then when they get on the team, suddenly the repetitions begin to diminish, and you don't want that to happen. If you've been shooting 500 shots a day to improve your stroke and all of that for your shooting, then if you take and back off to 150 shots, your consistency is going to fall in relationship to the amount of practice time you put in it. So you have to stay on that. And that's not the only thing either. There was one of the people here wanted to know about dribbling. Where'd that one go?
I don't know.
But the upshot was, how much time should I spend on my dribbling? Hey, that's something you do every day. Think about this. If I'm going to take the ball from one side of the court or from one end to the other end, the only way to get there is using your dribble, okay? And if you're going to use your dribble and you are contested, you have to be strong enough with the dribble that you can keep that person who's contesting you getting where you want to go from taking the ball away from you, okay? And so that is one of the most important fundamental skills in basketball, is dribbling with both hands, and not just dribbling and just pounding it up and down, but through the legs, behind the back, backward, forward. All of that is important. How long will it take you to improve your ball skills? That's a question we get asked all the time. The answer to that question, as far as we're concerned, is this. You should be working on your ball skills at least 15 to 20, 30 minutes a day. As much as you spend as much as you spend on your shooting. Okay, and what's going to happen is that you will find within just a matter of a few days, you're beginning to improve with your ball skills. And so if you keep that up, then pretty soon, after a month or so, you'll be just blown away with your capabilities of how to dribble the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this almost every time where I typically will say, if you want your shot to be there on Sunday, you have to work for it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, not just Monday, maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday. I mean, you have to hit it every day if you want it to be there consistently.
Yeah.
And, it really is true that consistent practice leads to consistent results.
Absolutely.
And so that also means that you have to be doing purposeful, diligent practice while you're doing it too. So, doing things like the form shooting drill, game speed, game intensity work, where you're doing off the dribble and off the pass shooting, kind of game situational stuff. You have to be doing all of those things on a regular basis so that you're dialing everything in, and then you're also amping it up to where you would see it in a game, and just setting the game conditions so that when you step out on the floor, you actually been there before. We call those the 3 pillars of practice, and we talk about those every single time too. So that's really how you have to approach it: consistent, diligent, purposeful practice.
Yeah, the other thing that's really important for us to remember too is that shooting has a reward at the end of it. Okay? And that reward for the shooting is seeing that ball go through the basket. And so that motivates you to shoot some more. And pretty soon you're making more and more and more, and you're more motivated to keep shooting. And that's cool. When we are dribbling the basketball, we don't really have an immediate reward in front of us. Okay? When that reward comes is when we have developed our skills with the basketball, and we can take and break somebody down off the dribble and get to the basket on. That's the reward there. And so keep that in mind, that there's not an immediate reward when you're doing ball skills and dribbling, all of that kind of stuff. That's going to come later when you put it into the game.
It's an investment.
Yeah, it's an investment that you collect on later, but don't let that stop you, because, hey, you can't go anywhere on the floor without a dribble.
Okay. Awesome. Let's move on. This one is from Passport Players TV, and he gives us a compliment saying, "These guys have some of the best educational videos on the tube." Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, checks in the mail. Adam Avatar says, "How can I start or play for varsity team next year? Right now, I'm in the 8th and about 5'9". I'm a shooting guard right now, but if I were to start, what would be a best fit position for me?" Okay, a lot of things going on here.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me do number one is that you don't get to pick your position.
Yeah.
That is what your coach gets to do.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we always try to tell our players and people that we talk to and you guys is that you should kind of remove any kind of dispersions of what position you should be playing, because number one, it doesn't matter. Number two, your coach picks it. And number three, if you want to be a valuable player, be the most versatile player that you can possibly be.
Exactly.
Do everything. It doesn't matter if you're 5'1", you should be able to do some post moves and some post work. You should be able to rebound. You should be able to do all the things that are perceived big guy kind of tasks.
Yeah.
And same thing is true if you're a big guy. You should be able to shoot from the perimeter. You should be able to attack off the dribble. You should be able to play facing up to the basket. You should be able to make free throws. All of these things are important all the way around.
Well, here's another thought, Casey, that goes along with that, is that here you are, you're in the 8th grade and you're 5'9". When you get to be a sophomore, you might be 6'4". You don't really know that. Sometimes you can kind of tell because of family patterns and whatnot, but you don't necessarily want to look at the immediate situation. I'm going to be this point guard, or I'm going to be this 2 or 3 or whatever. Casey's point, and it's one that we stress with everybody that we work with and talk to about the game. You learn to first become a basketball player, and then you begin to put your work into position play when the coach puts you there.
Here's what I would say. Invest in yourself, not in a position.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, it's like you're saying, you could be 5'9" now, you could be some different height in a couple of years.
Yeah.
somebody like Anthony Davis, who
yeah.
he went into high school at like 5'6" or I don't know, something ridiculously short, and then wound up at 6'10" or whatever he is now. By the time that he was leaving, and one of the reasons why he has the perimeter skills that he has as a very tall guy is the fact that he started out playing the kind of point guard position because he was the shorter guy.
Yeah.
But that has made him a great big man because he's the size of a center, but he can do all the things that a guard does. So it's almost impossible to stop him. Because he is. I mean, the same thing is kind of true of Kevin Durant. There's other guys, like Tim Duncan, to a degree, even though he's kind of more of a power forward type. But the thing is that invest in yourself. Forget these positions; they mean nothing. And the other thing is you're worrying about starting or playing for the varsity team. Go out and play as well as you can, just without that pressure on yourself. If you don't make that, then that doesn't matter. Not being a 4-year varsity guy is not something that is for everybody, and not every great player does that. There's a lot of times where people mature later and then they become these amazing basketball players.
Well, just think about Michael Jordan,
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of people that, maybe they come in as sophomores or juniors that play on the varsity, whatever. And the other thing is that you don't want to play on the varsity team if you're not getting playing time, if it's not fun, if you're not matching up well. It's okay to play junior varsity and be, have that transitionary period
and
where
develop your game more too.
Yeah, I mean that's why there's things like the NBA Development League.
Yeah.
I mean those guys, I'm sure they would love to be right there in the NBA right now, but that's just not. Sometimes there's not a spot for you. Sometimes you need to work on your game more. I mean, there's so many circumstances, but there are guys that have become better players because they went through that system, and then now they are perennial NBA stars now. Like what's his name, Danny Green. I mean that's a guy who he was in the NBA. He wasn't really doing all that much. Went down to the D League and came back, and now he is a certified Spur. So I mean, stop putting that pressure on yourself. Develop your skills as much as you can to the point where you are comfortable out there on the floor executing that stuff. Go out there and play, and then what will happen. And go check out our video on how to make the team.
Right.
And there's all these little tips and tricks and mental approaches that will help you show your coach that that's where you want to be too.
Right.
EJ Saki says, "How do I make the JV next year after getting freshman year?" Same advice.
Yeah, same thing.
Work on your game and your skills. Invest in you. And then also go check out our video, How to Make the Team.
Exactly right.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, the How to Make the Team video that you made is your advice.
Yes, exactly.
You have been a high school coach for many years. You've coached on traveling teams. You've coached tons of guys, tons of players.
In different ages.
All of your very good friends are coaches.
Yeah.
You talk to other coaches. We've talked to all sorts of coaches from every level of basketball. This is the stuff that they say.
Yeah, right.
I mean, players don't think that is necessarily what they're looking for. That is what coaches are looking for at every level.
Yeah.
And you can go look at our videos with Casey Hill, who is the head coach of the NBA development team for the Golden State Warriors. He works with Steve Kerr. He works with the Warriors organization. He says the same exact stuff that we say in our videos. So go watch those. And that is somebody that is coaching at the highest levels. His father is kind of a legendary NBA coach,
right,
and he's coached with him. So, it really is kind of these simple things that they look for on every level of basketball. So do yourself a favor. And also, we're seeing people from Amsterdam, Toronto, Phoenix, New York, Cincinnati, New Jersey, Baltimore. Sean Truesdale is from Baltimore. Robert Stark is from London. I think Robert was asking us, too, if we knew who Steve Bucknall was, and we do. And he says he's his coach, his high school coach now. He played for the Lakers.
Huh.
That's awesome. Tell him we said hi. Not that he knows who we are.
Yeah, right.
Let's see here. Sean Truesdale asked us how to get more possessions over an aggressive player.
Well, That's an interesting question. It's kind of hard to tell you because we don't know how aggressive it is. Is he aggressive because he's reaching in? Is he being physical with his body?
Are they outplaying you? I mean,
Is he stronger than you? And what you need to do when you have those people that are aggressive, and I'm assuming that they're players that are being physical with you, strength-wise, and that sort of thing, trying to intimidate you. The one thing you have to remember is this: is that you need to be physical back. That doesn't mean you take cheap shots or anything like that, but you need to use your body and your aggressiveness to protect the basketball. And pretty soon you learn how to do that. Usually young players, when they get into a physical match, particularly with maybe an older player, let's say you're playing high school and let's say you're a sophomore and you end up playing against the seniors, and the seniors always have to be the thugs. They want to have everybody to worship them because they are seniors.
Tough guy mentality.
The tough guys, yeah, the thugs. And in reality, what you need to do is help them get their priorities right, because you can be probably just as physical as they can. And maybe it ends up in a little pushing and shoving and talking to one another. That's going to happen. You don't worry about that. But you can allow yourself to be intimidated by another person like that. And so you have to assert yourself. Does that mean you take cheap shots? No.
Here's what I would say that is right in line with what you're saying, is that you need to remove the emotional and the ego part of all that stuff.
That's true.
Because number one, it does not matter.
Yeah.
If somebody's trying to intimidate you or be more aggressive, let them, but don't let it get to you.
Yeah.
So just remove that emotional response to it, and don't let your ego get in the way.
Yeah.
Focus on what you're trying to do. And there's so many ways that you can do that. If somebody's being more aggressive than you, maybe that means that they're slightly more out of control.
Yeah.
So have them in a situation. Use your mind. Be smart about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, is that if you're gonna rebound, block them out.
Yeah.
And neutralize that. And if they're being more aggressive, they're probably going to go over your back and foul you or push you down or whatever. And that's good. That means that you get the ball in the possession and they get a foul. So they get penalized way more than you do. If they're being more aggressive and out of control and they're attacking you off the dribble or something, take the charge. If they are playing aggressively on defense on you, give them a pump fake and let them jump in the air and try to go block your shot, and then you can go by them. I mean, there's so many ways to do it.
But
be smart.
Don't allow somebody to intimidate you just because they maybe are older than you are.
Don't lose your cool. I mean, that's really kind of a bottom line thing. Let's see. Brian Garcia asks, what to do to get better at shooting?
Oh, wow. That's a really tough question. In order to get better for shooting, you need to make sure that the mechanics of your shot are those that are going to make you effective.
Strong foundational elements.
Yeah, and we think that what we present for shooting is pretty solid. It's been put together over the last 60 years, and we shape it if we need to as time goes by. But we think that those elements are really important in being a successful shooter.
And we work with tons of people, and it has made them really great shooters.
Right.
It works for us ourselves. I mean, and we don't implement or put anything into our shooting mechanics that's going to do anything but have the result that it's supposed to be there for.
Exactly.
So we are all about efficiency and no wasted movement or areas where things can break down. It is all about easy repeatability.
Yeah. And, how can you get all that going and get a better shooter? You spend time on, after you've got the mechanics down of the shot, then what you want to do is spend an awful lot of time just working a short distance. And we have a video that we think is really good for everybody. It's called the form shooting drill. And we give you several different types there. But the basic one, the form shooting drill, is all about establishing these shooting mechanics or elements that we talk about. Then after you kind of got that down, then it's okay to kind of move away from the basket a little bit and kind of start to work the program out on yourself. We tell people that are our students that we can't really make you a better shooter. You have to make you a better shooter. We can show you how. Yeah. We can show you how and why you want to do it this way, and then you have to spend time, and we call that homework. And that's not a real popular word with most students, but they go away and they work on it, and if they do, we can see real improvement in their shooting effectiveness in about 4 weeks, sometimes a little quicker than that.
Yeah, well, the bottom take home on that is that we can't do the work for you.
Yeah.
We can give you the tools, and we've gone through all the hard work of all the pitfalls and mistakes and figuring out what works best. So hopefully, when we tell you guys these things, it will help you get to your destination faster. But you have to put in the work regardless. Okay, so we're gonna do lightning round for just a few minutes because we've only hit a few questions today, but we got to get through some of these. But Crown Crusader says greetings from Germany. That's awesome.
Greetings to you.
Let's see. Let's go to the newer ones here. Let's see. EJ Saki says how to work on your vertical. Go check out our vertical jump series. We've made several videos and we have the vertical jump handbook. That's what we would say about that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Richmond De Los Reyes says, what if I'm sick? Should I take a rest?
Yeah.
Yes. If you're injured or sick and it's only going to exacerbate those things for you to do anything, you should stop and you should rest. And if it's one of those things where you're trying to recover from an injury or something like that, it is not worth hurting yourself or making your recovery take longer. You really need to just take the time, recover, then come back and really invest in what you're doing.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. This is from the Hurricane who says, hey, coach, my team coach puts me in, and the 2 minutes later I'm on the bench and I never play for the rest of the game. I'm a short point guard, so what should I do? Please help.
Well,
I think quickly,
go ahead.
It comes back to check out our how to make the team video.
Right.
Those are really good elements for you to get to try out.
Right.
Now whatever you were going to say.
The thing that is real important is that you need to do things that are going to make your coach interested in having you on the floor. And what Katie is talking about there is the recommendations that we make on how to make the team. They're centered mostly around effort. And oftentimes what happens is young players get into a game, and what happens is that they're passive. They're not really very tough physically on defense and those kinds of things. But as soon as you understand that you have to become much more physical, much quicker, much stronger, get on the floor on loose balls, all that kind of stuff, then you find that you get a little bit more time in the game. And that just kind of develops. That was one of the things for me. I was horrible in my early years in basketball when I was in high school and didn't play very much. In my junior year, I had a chance to get into a game quite by accident because one of the guys unfortunately got hurt. The coach gave me a call and he said, don't let that guy have another shot the rest of the game. And I didn't play much before that. I went in and was able to shut him down. But it was mostly not because of my skill so much is that I had adrenaline pumping out of both ears, and so he didn't have a chance. Plus, he was about 5'10", and I was about 6'2", really long arms, and so not only did he get any shots, he didn't catch the ball after that either. And so that sold that coach on me, and I started the rest of the season based upon the efforts that I put into that game right there. And I think that's very true of most players.
Yeah,
lightning.
we are not so great at the lightning round. Let's see. Tobden Wangchuk says how to overcome being nervous and more confident during games. The quick answer here is that you have to get your skills to the level where you feel comfortable executing those skills.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people, they get super nervous, but I think it's because they feel like they're going to screw up or make mistakes. So you have to work on your game consistently, purposefully, diligently outside of the games so that when you actually get into the games, it feels comfortable and you know what you're doing. And it will take some experience too. But the biggest thing that you can do is really have your skills in place so that you feel confident using them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alexa Vucic says, how do I get a better grip on the ball? I can set good screens and pass and finish when I catch it, but I constantly fumble the ball and it hinders my rebounding because shorter guys zoom in and strip it.
Well, the thing that comes to my mind right off is oftentimes players don't utilize their thumbs very properly. Hang on a second. Let me pick up the ball.
Well, I think, but it's getting a good spread on.
Oftentimes, okay.
Yeah, we're seeing a reverse image of ourselves.
Okay, so you can see that my hand is kind of flat on the ball and the thumb is as well. one of the things that we teach everybody, particularly in shooting, but also in ball skills, is that the thumb begins to spread out and gives you more surface area on the ball. The other thing is, and I don't know where all these fingers are from the back
You
side.
want me to hold it?
No, I'm good. All right, is that when we have this little finger and the thumb opposite one another, opposing one another, you have a better grip on the basketball. And particularly in ball skills, you want to spread those fingers out so that you have better control.
Yeah, so it's just like in shooting. You got to get the ball up on your finger pads, not on your palm, not on the very tips, but on your finger pads, and you're going to have control. And the other thing, too, is that I would say work on your touch when you're catching the ball, too. A lot of times, there's players that maybe lack some coordination or they haven't been playing very long, and they try to catch the ball and they basically kind of they have stone hands. Yeah. So you have to work on relaxing your hands and kind of learning how to give with the ball when it comes to you. You don't just catch it all the time. If it's a zip pass, you got to be able to kind of give with the ball as it comes into your hands so that it doesn't just hit your hands and bounce off. And you can work on that by like maybe passing the ball off the wall a bunch, maybe even laying down on the floor and throwing it up in the air. I mean, there's so many things that you can do.
One of the things you can do too is that you can play one hand catch.
Yeah.
And so you catch the ball with just one hand, and then you catch it with the other hand. And so that helps you learn how to recoil and soften. One of the other things that kind of goes along with this too is that when you are dribbling, oftentimes we lose control of the basketball because we're not dribbling the ball very well. Biggest problem that I can see is we're not pounding the ball into the floor.
Yeah.
We have a very soft touch, and on that soft touch, it means that it's harder for us to control where the ball goes. When we start to drive it into the floor, it comes back to our hands more crisply, and it tends to stick a little better when it comes back into those hands.
Awesome. Okay.
Now, was that lightning enough there, Casey?
Yeah, we're not doing so well on the lightning round. Sheikh Saleh says, "This is my favorite basketball channel. Thank you guys so much." Awesome. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
You're on Team Shot Science.
All right.
Okay, we're going to do a couple more and then we're out of here. Let's see here. Tom Angelo says, "Do you really have to keep the ball off your palms when shooting? I see a lot of great shooters with awkward forms and can still shoot lights out, and it seems to work for me. So should I still change?" Okay. Well, go ahead.
Okay. Here's the thing. There are players in the game of basketball all over this earth who do things that are different and are still successful. We think that it's better if you spread that thumb and get the palm up off the ball, mostly because you can grip the basketball. When the thumb is in here and the palm is flat on the ball,
look, here it is on my palm. I don't know if you can see it. It's like right there. Look at how the ball, I have no control over it.
Yeah, and so
spread my fingers and get it on the finger pads.
Then
it's locked in.
You've got better control. But the thing that's important is what is successful for you. And that's, I think that's really important to remember because, Stephen Curry does things that a lot of other people don't do. Other people can be successful and they don't shoot like Steph Curry. And so the thing that's important is just developing what is going to work for you and be effective.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that you're bringing up these other players and other shooters or whatever, and they might have awkward forms or these elements of their shooting that are off or different than what is kind of conventional teachings. The thing is that a lot of people learn this stuff or first start it kind of in a vacuum. They don't have a coach or a teacher, and they kind of just start doing it, and then it becomes whatever feels comfortable. And so you might get some weird shots like Reggie Miller or, fill in the blank. Even Larry Bird's was a little awkward at times. But the thing is that they did so many repetitions and worked so hard on it that they overcame whatever obstacles were involved in that shooting mechanic and became elite anyways. Yep. I mean, it's just like if you see like these guitar players and they play a right-handed guitar and they're left-handed and they flip it over and they just play it like that. I mean, that's a completely backwards way to do it, but they figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true with guys or girls that shoot with these weird forms is that they've put in the time. And it might have been weird and awkward to start off with, but they figured out a way to make it work. Yeah. Doesn't mean that is the best way either. I mean, if maybe they had some direction and worked with the kind of fundamentals that work kind of universally, maybe they would be even better shooters. You don't even know. But the thing is that I would not use that as a justification to have a wonky shot.
Yeah.
And if you have an opportunity to make something better and you think it's going to make it better, I would do it. But do it in the off season. But if you don't see the benefit of it, then don't do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do 2 more and then we're done.
All right.
Let's see here. Anime Soul Waffle says, how to improve ball handling. I had a high increase in skill, then it stopped. Well, were you doing the same things? Were you varying the way that you were doing it? I think that you can't do the exact same thing over and over and over and over again without any kind of variance.
Yeah, you need to challenge yourself with variations. And, there's probably hundreds of different ball handling drills that will help you improve, okay? And maybe you have a repertoire that you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, another repertoire that you do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Or work in new things every once in a while.
Oh, yeah, and work in new things and push other things out and just keep changing and getting good in all situations because, in the game of basketball, you get into some really strange difficulties, but maybe one dribble doesn't work for you, but if you've got a nice flat back dribble to get you to the other side, that works for you, and so you have to spend time on it. And people, that means a lot of time.
Yeah, people wonder, how do I get to be like Kyrie Irving? How do I get to be like Stephen Curry or whatever? Those guys have put in so many repetitions and so many hours that they could do that stuff in their sleep.
Exactly.
And, it wasn't like Kyrie Irving woke up one morning and he could do what he can do right now.
Yes.
He spent many years, many hours, many, times in the gym or times at the playground working on that stuff. And the same is true for anybody else. Nobody is born as Kyrie Irving when it comes to ball handling. That is something that you have to kind of make yourself.
Yep.
Okay, last question here is from Superfreak1148 who says, I get so mad when I miss a shot, then I take my next shot and I miss because I'm down about my first shot. I need advice.
Okay.
Super easy.
All right, that really is. One of the things that I see an awful lot is that, in fact, there was a young man that was here with us this morning. We were working on his shot. I hadn't seen him for a while. The shot was flat. It was short. It was all over the place. And one of the things that we talked about is, okay, let's take and get 2 or 3 elements here. Let's focus on those. And as you begin to focus on them, you see them coming into to a reality for you, and you're starting to get better. One of the things that happens, though, is I can see through his body language that he's getting pissed because they're not going in for him. And relax. Okay, stop for a minute. As long as you are taking a very negative attitude about your shot, you probably are not going to improve. As soon as you relax and forget about the poor shots, because you're probably going to shoot more poor shots than you'll ever shoot perfect shots. There's no such thing as a perfect shot anyway. And so the one thing is that this gets to be a mental issue that can just take you backwards. And so what you want to do is forget about it. I remember Casey's brother playing in college, and this one particular game stuck in my mind forever. And he could shoot the 3 ball pretty good, and they're playing for the championship of the conference. And he comes in, and he is 0 for 7 in the first half from the 3-point line. But he had no conscience. That didn't bother him because he knew that if he kept after it, that he would be able to get it going. And so when he ended up the game and they won the game, he had hit 10 threes in a row in the second half. And so don't worry about misses. Worry about maybe what your stroke is looking like, and is there some little chink that you can work on, and then work on that. But don't let yourself get into that negative place where you're feeling sorry for yourself because you can't get any balls to go in the basket.
Yeah,
okay, that's just disaster for you.
There's different layers and levels of this, but the number one thing is that the way you handle it with your mentality and your approach is really going to dictate how successful you are.
Exactly. And not just a basketball. That might carry over to the rest of your life as well.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if Steph Curry got pissed off every time that he missed a shot and it affected his next shot? Yeah. He would not be who he is right now. No. Or, anybody that ever was an inventor of anything, if they were discouraged by some mishap and they just packed it up because they were getting so frustrated, that would be, nothing would happen, nothing would advance. So,
okay, let me take one final thought here before we leave.
I wasn't finished, but okay.
Okay, go ahead and finish then.
But I was just going to say is that you have to have your own personal mental switch flip.
Yeah.
And you have to accept the fact, okay, you miss a shot. It does not matter, especially in practice. the best that you can do is take that as a learning experience. And if you're in practice, you can say, "Oh, I missed that off the front rim. Okay, next time I'm going to have more arc in my shot and make sure I finish with my shooting elbow above my eyes."
Yeah.
And use it as a way to motivate yourself to get better. Don't use it as a way to motivate yourself to get worse,
Exactly.
which is what you seem to be doing.
Exactly right. And my final shot on that is that if you happen to be a perimeter shooter, let's say a 3-point shooter, you've got to figure that in high school, even if you're a pretty good shooter, you're only going to be maybe 40%. So out of 10 shots, that means that you're probably going to miss at least 6 of them. Okay, and maybe it's because of fatigue. Maybe it's because of the pace of the game. Maybe it's because you got a guy who's bigger than you on defense and all kinds of things. But the most important thing is, do not allow yourself to find a negative place every time something seems wrong. Okay, power on. Here we go.
Yeah, and there's a famous quote by Michael Jordan saying how he's missed more shots than you will ever take.
Exactly.
And that is very true.
Yep.
So take-home message is get over it.
Get over it.
And figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. If we didn't get to if we didn't get to your question, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time and there was so many questions. Make sure that you're following us on all of our social media stuff, because we do different things in different places, and people like to hang out and chat with us during the week. And on Facebook, we're doing a lot of cool things there. Make sure you're following us there. Twitter, if you want to talk to us, that's a good place to catch us. We are on Snapchat, Instagram, wherever you may look, we are Shot Science. And we would love to have you guys follow us there. And we will catch you guys next time, I guess, on the next live show. And stay tuned for some new stuff. All right?
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. See you later.